One.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Health meeting of February 14th, 2022. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please notify the chairman. Pursuant to Governor Baker's June 16th, 2021 signing of an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, including the extension of his March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, section 20 until April 1st, 2022, this meeting of the Chatham Board of Health is being conducted via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the number 508-945-4410, ID 285-675-986#, or join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Channel 18, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide for real-time access. We will post a record of the meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. And now I turn the meeting over to Chairman Beckley.
Thank you, Judy. First thing I'd like to do is establish that we have a quorum of Board of Health members on the call. When I call your name, please indicate whether you're on the call. Dr. Noble Hanson.
Here.
Ron Broman.
Here.
Carol Boyce.
Here.
Dr. Richard Edwards.
Here.
And of course, I'm here. So we have certainly 5 members on the call, so we're good to go in terms of the quorum. The first item on the agenda is a show cause hearing regarding an expired O&M contract for John Marsh at 600 Old Queen Anne Road. I know, Judy, you sent all the board members a note about this. Is there any update at this point?
Yes, John is on the line as well, but he did forward today a copy of a signed and executed contract with All Cape Environmental Services for the O&M system at his property. So he should be all set. I don't know, John, did you have anything you wanted to say? You're muted, John.
We can't hear you, John. You got to press the unmute button.
The little microphone.
How's that?
We
Perfect.
got you now.
All right. Sorry, it's my first time using the Teams system. When I talked to Winston, for some reason, when they updated their software last year, a couple contracts, including mine for my house, got dropped. And then it kind of went by the wayside, not thinking anything of it, and didn't realize we hadn't seen anyone come out for a while to do the inspections and the tests. So once I got all that to Winston, he got it figured out, and we should be all good to go.
All right, good. So I think we're fine then, right, Judy?
We should be all set for.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay, and we'll be expecting the operation and maintenance, the testing and all that to be submitted by All Cape Environmental. So
correct.
We'll
yep.
Eye on it.
Great.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Marsh, for coming to the call.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move the agenda to item number 2, which is a variance hearing and approval for IA Technology from Marsha Ruddy at 18 Chatham Drive. J.M. O'Reilly and Associates, or representing the applicant. Is Mr. Farrell on the call?
He was here a few minutes ago.
You've got to unmute your phone or your computer, Mr. Farrell.
*6 if you're on the phone, Matt.
We know you're out there.
Can you hear me now?
Yep,
Yes.
we got you.
Yes.
I can't see you guys. I don't know what's going on, but anyway, I'll just proceed.
We can see you, so.
Okay. Yeah, for the record, Matt Farrell from Jam O'Reilly and Associates, representing Marcy Ruddy. This site is located 18 Tappan Drive. It's an existing 2-bedroom dwelling on approximately 17,500 square feet of land area. The proposal is to remove the existing dwelling and construct a 3-bedroom dwelling in its place. We are seeking a variance from Chatham's nutrient loading regulations to allow for a 3-bedroom dwelling on the property where we would only be allowed to have 2 bedrooms. We've designed the septic system with a microfast 0.5 for IA treatment and have submitted a septic plan and proposed floor plans for the request. And I would be more than happy to answer any questions the board has.
Matt,
There
I
I am.
have one question on the drawings that show the inside of the house. On the main level, there's a room called the cabana. Could you tell me what that room is?
Well, if you notice on the site plan, there's a pool in the backyard, so it's basically a pool cabana that's attached to the house instead of a detached pool house. It's kind of like a family room, I guess.
Okay. So it's really for support of the outdoor swimming pool.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Can I ask a question about the second floor?
Certainly.
So this is proposed as a 3-bedroom house. On the second floor, there are 2 bedrooms and there are 3 full baths with showers. One of the baths on the second floor is off a room that's called a den. And we've seen this many, many times at the Board of Health. This appears to be a bedroom. The only thing that would make it not a bedroom is if that wall between the den and the game room were completely missing. It's a cased opening that can be easily closed with a bifold door, and then it's a 4th bedroom. So I'm just curious about why there are 3 full baths on the second floor with only 2 bedrooms, and another room that looks like if it looks like a duck and it walks like a duck, I mean, that looks like a bedroom with an ensuite bath. So that would make this a 4-bedroom house. And you would have a 4-bedroom septic system.
Yeah, well, the septic system is only designed for 3 bedrooms. And all I can say about the room is it's a den and that there's a cased opening there that makes it not meet the definition of a bedroom to provide privacy.
I'm just curious why you need a full bath with a shower on a den. I mean, this is a 4.5 bath house. And it just, this happens all the time, but clearly, in my view, this is ultimately people are gonna sleep in that room, regardless of what it says on this plan.
All I can say is I don't know why there are so many bathrooms. I've been working with the owner, Marcy Ruddy, for several months now. She did make some changes to the floor plan, I think, at some point, based on there being too many legal bedrooms. So I don't know why there's so many bathrooms. But
well, I don't think I can vote to approve this the way it stands now.
All I can say is that room does not meet the definition of a bedroom in Title V or in the town of Chatham. But you already know this. So that's really, the only answer I have for you.
Well, the definition of a bedroom seems to be relatively nebulous. nobody seems to really know what the definition of a bedroom is. There are some recommendations that people use, but like a cased opening isn't, but there really isn't anything written that clearly defines what a bedroom is. I'd like to see that whole wall between the den and the game room removed, to call that to say that isn't a bedroom.
Dick, this is Judy. I am concerned about that room as well. However, Matt's correct in that it doesn't meet our definition of a bedroom. We do have a definition of a bedroom in our regulations, and it's greater than 70 square feet, has natural light and ventilation, has privacy, and is heated. So it's the privacy thing on this one that they get away with the 5-foot cased opening. But I looked at it and I thought the same thing, Dick. It does concern me. The only suggestion,
what privacy means. I mean, again, a bifold door can open that cased opening in an hour.
Well, I'm wondering if we could have them take that wall completely out and have it be open into the game room.
That's what I'd like to see.
That would help. That's the only other thing I could offer there. Because it is, this is a 5.5 bath house. There's 5 full bathrooms in this house. So what we're seeing, and it's a concern, is that houses like this, and they get rented out and they become overly used as rental properties. And not to say that these people are going to do this, because I have no idea what the status is, but I think if they agreed to take that wall out completely, that would go a little bit towards alleviating it, and then it is deed restricted, which would be part of the conditions of approval.
The alternative would be to remove the bathroom.
Correct. Or even, remove the bathroom, or even just take out the shower. So that you'd have a bathroom for the game room, and the den would not have a shower that would make it an ensuite bath.
It sure does look like a duck.
Yeah, there's no conceivable reason to have 5.5 bathrooms in this house unless you're planning to sleep, a lot of people. And that bathroom off the den, there's no reason for a full bath with a shower to be there.
Well, I guess, if I've heard from the entire board, I guess I could ask for a continuance. I do not think my client is on the call. I don't see her name or phone number, so I guess I could ask for a continuance to your next meeting and talk to my client about removing the shower from the bathroom or removing the entire wall for the den. Would that be correct?
That's what I would recommend, yes.
Well, either or, right?
Yes.
Well, this is Ron Drummond. I'd rather see the wall taken out.
Yeah, this is Noble. I agree basically with what the other board members have said, but I think removing the wall gets more to the heart of it, because I think bathrooms aren't used to define bedrooms anymore. But I have a question for Judy. So the definition of privacy under the bylaws, there's no further definition. That's just then up to the subjective sort of opinion of the Board of Health. Is that how it works in the past?
Yeah, there really is no definition of privacy. It's just always been, something that we arbitrarily define.
Right,
and as you know,
the privacy does come down in the end to an opinion by the board. whether it looks like a
Correct.
bedroom.
And so if,
That's, I mean, just for the future, that might be something for us to work on, firming it up a little bit, because it would make everyone's life easier, I think.
right, and I think that's something we have discussed, and we need to get to that, the whole 5-foot cased opening, or, we could definitely refine our definition of a bedroom for in the future.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But for
if-
this, I agree with what's been said, and the preferable thing would be to remove the wall, because that makes it at least like a bedroom, to me.
Correct. There is, John, there's a, one person in the audience, I'm not sure if it's the owner, but that has their hand up.
Okay, go ahead. I see your face. You have the
Says-
floor.
Would that be me, Julie?
Julie,
Yeah,
yes.
Hi, Julie Johnstone. I'm in a butter. I'm probably the most direct butter, 123 Bucks Creek. Our backyards share. And I guess I'm just curious of if these plans and everything are public record that we can see, because no matter what they do, I didn't know a pool was being proposed for the site. And it's quite a small house coming down, and it sounds like it's going to be quite a large house going up with a pool. So, I mean, we have concerns about where the septic and the pool will be sited. And I guess just wondering what our availability to see things are and to be kept informed. The other abutters, the one to the left, I mean, they no longer live there. We don't live there full time, but we do live there in the summer, and we do not rent at all. And I worry too about a house that has 5 bathrooms. It's
Julie,
added. Yeah, go ahead.
The plans are posted on the town's, Board of Health posting.
Got it.
You can look at, or you're more than happy to come in and, look at the plans
Yeah.
here at the health department, or, I don't know if they've submitted building plans yet, but you
Okay.
can come look at our plans.
Site plans. Okay. I
Yeah.
can look on the website. I saw the agenda. I just didn't see materials posted. Okay, thanks.
All right, so let's clarify the board's preferences here. Are we asking the applicant to either open up that wall completely or remove the bathroom or remove just the shower? I would prefer just remove the bathroom or remove the entire wall, one or the other.
I would recommend that we just say remove the wall and period. That
Period.
would make
Okay.
it not a bedroom. And if they want to come back with an alternative proposal, they can. But I mean, we've already had one 3-bedroom house in this town advertised, sleep 16 people in the summer. So I think we need to be a little more careful about approving these proposals.
Noble and Carol, what do you think about it?
Noble, yeah, my preference would be to remove the wall so it's wide open. It can't be a bedroom then. Bathrooms, we haven't counted much, but I would say remove the wall. And I think basically we need a continuance to the next meeting and let the abutter see the plans and be able to make some more comments as well.
Okay, Richard,
I would agree with that.
what about Carol and Ron?
I agree with removing the wall.
How about you, Ron? You okay with this as a?
Yeah, move the wall, because the bathrooms doesn't matter how many bathrooms they really have. It's the bedrooms that you're concerned about.
Okay. All right, so let's proceed in that direction then. Do we need a motion to
One more
approve a
question.
continuance?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, one more question, just to clarify for my client. You either want the wall removed or the bathroom removed completely?
No. I think we simply want the wall to be completely removed.
Okay, Just wanted to
you-
confirm.
Unless
I
you're
just-
in a position to commit to that right now, if there's
I
no
have no idea.
choice.
I have no idea if it's a structural wall. So if it's needed for support, I can't really commit to it now. We can continue to the next meeting, I guess.
Okay, that's fair enough. So, Judy, do we need a motion to vote to approve this on the continuance for the next meeting?
I think you can just agree to continue it. Diane, do you know, do we need a
Yeah,
motion?
Yeah, you need a vote to continue.
Thank you.
Okay, can I get a motion?
Yeah, Ron Bowman, I'll make a motion.
How about a second?
Second, Noble?
Okay, when I call your name, please indicate how you vote on the motion to approve this as a continuance until our next board meeting. Dr. Noble Hanson,
Approved to continue?
Ron Broman,
Continue.
Carol Boyce,
Approve.
and I approve. Richard Edwards,
We lost Dick.
he's on the call. Okay, well, we have the votes already. So the motion is carried then to carry this agenda item forward to the next Board of Health meeting.
Do we happen to know the date of the meeting? The next meeting?
March 7th
It's March 7th.
March 7th.
at 3 o'clock.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Our agenda says the March 21st.
No, I'm sorry if that's there, but it should be March 7th.
It is
Yeah.
March.
It is March 7th.
Okay, March 7th is the next date. Okay, thank you, everyone, including you, Matt.
Thank you, folks. We'll see you on March 7th.
Thanks,
All
Matt.
righty. Okay, let's go up to agenda item number 3, which is an update and a discussion regarding John McGrath at 32 Mill Hill Road. Any updates?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Robert Duncanson, Director of Health and Natural Resources. I don't have any updates for you. The request for bid or the invitation for bid is on the street. Bids are due next week. As we talked about at the last meeting, we sent those out to 3 firms, 2 of which had bid initially on a verbal quote, but we had to do it based on a written quotation. So that is out, due next week, and then we'll have a better idea where we're heading from there. So I think that's all the update I've got for you today.
Any questions for Dr. Duncanson? Board of Health?
Yeah, this is Noble. So the letter to the Traffic Safety Committee has been sent, or is that a draft, or has it actually been sent now?
No, you're right. That letter has not been sent yet. That was sent to the board as a draft, and we were just looking to see if there were any comments from any members of the board. And if you're okay with it, then we'd need a vote to approve sending that to the Traffic Safety Committee.
All right. Well, look, I think the letter was good. If anybody has any objections to the letter draft, speak up now, or else we'll go ahead and vote to authorize it being sent. Can I get a motion to approve the letter to be sent?
Noble, a motion to approve the draft letter to the Traffic Safety Committee to consider the 32 Mill Hill property.
Okay, can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion and comments from the public on this?
We have Carol Gordon has her hand raised.
Okay, Carol Gordon, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'm glad you approved the letter, and I was wondering, that will get sent to the traffic division like right away, like tomorrow, or how does that work? How long will that take till that gets to the proper
We will forward it to their staff liaison to get to the committee members tomorrow.
Okay, and fabulous. Okay. And also, I just want to confirm that there's no problem with the funding as it comes through from the bids for the cleanup of that particular part of the road, not part B, not phase B, but part 1 for the public way. We're securing that funding?
As we've talked about previously, the finance director has identified 2 potential funding sources. And depending on how much the bids come in at, then a decision would be made as to which one of those
Okay.
will be accessed for the funding.
Fabulous. Okay, all right. So by the next meeting, we should know the which bid has been selected and perhaps like a date that they're going to go out, because I think you had mentioned before that once you select a company, that they have 2 weeks or something like this to complete the job. Is that correct?
Once we've issued the notice to proceed, we gave them 21 days to complete the work.
Okay, great. And once you decide on the company, then you will give them the go-ahead to proceed, and that will start at that time, the 21 days, correct?
Yeah, the notice to proceed will come from the town manager's office.
And that'll come pretty promptly, right after you select the bids?
I would expect so.
Okay, just want to make sure. We're getting so close. It'd be fabulous to have this finished. So, all right, thank you all for your work and carry on. Thanks a lot.
Right. Thank you. We still have to vote on the motion. Richard, did you want to comment before we vote? I see your hand up, Richard. I don't know if it's new or old.
My hand should be down.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead. And Judy, did you have your hand up?
I'm sorry, no, I don't know why my hand's up.
All these
I had a
hands are
quick
up.
question, John.
Go ahead, Noble.
Noble, that would be to Bob. So when this gets scheduled to be before the committee, what would be the routine? Does somebody from the board goes there? Do you go there? Who sort of presents the case and talks to the members of the committee about why we think this is important? How does that usually work? Or what would you recommend?
Yeah, we'll let the board know when it's scheduled on their agenda. Obviously, we probably wouldn't want to have the entire board at that meeting because then you'd have to have a quorum and all those kinds of things. But we can certainly let the board know, and maybe the chairman will want to be in attendance, or I, or Judy, or all 3 of us. Generally, what happens, it goes to the traffic study committee. They conduct their own kind of, investigation, if you will. They visit the sites and look at all the traffic and whatnot. But yeah, we'll keep you apprised as soon as we know when that's scheduled for their meeting.
And just Noble, I make one other note. I drove by over the weekend, I guess, and the trailer that I've been worried about not being registered is the old, sort of looks broken with, it's a vehicle trailer with some junk on it. And I haven't seen a license plate on it, but I noticed that a newer trailer with a license has now been backed up to that trailer so close that you cannot even get behind it to look and see if there is a license plate. It's kind of unusual, but that's a change. And then I had, so that's an issue ongoing. But the one last quick question for Bob, the placeholder warrant article for the spring is all set? Is that all done, I guess?
It's been sent downtown. They've put it into their kind of very draft warrant. I haven't seen it scheduled yet before the Board of Selectmen because
Right.
it's
Select board has
they would have to approve to place it on the warrant and then either recommend or not recommend. I haven't seen that on their agenda yet. They're just starting to work their way through all the various warrant articles.
Right.
Um,
And then,
I'm sorry, this is Judy. I just wanted to remind the board that we also need to send the letter to Mr. McGrath prior to us actually beginning the cleanup. So he has some time to do anything before we get there.
This is John. Well, why can't we send that letter forthwith?
Well, we want to send it about 7 days, and once we know the contractor's schedule,
We don't have a date.
the idea was to give Mr. McGrath about 7 days notice of the cleanup.
Okay,
So we're, at this point, we're still waiting for the bids and then the contractor's schedule of when he was, he's planning to do it.
okay. So he has to give you at least 1 week lead notice, so we would have the timing to
Yep.
send the notice accordingly. Okay,
Yes. Yes, and
Okay.
we wrote that into the invitation for bid.
okay. We still have an open motion here to vote to authorize the sending of the Traffic Safety Committee referral letter. So let me tend to that before we get lost. In terms of that motion, when I call your name, please indicate how you vote. Dr. Noble Hanson,
Approve to send letter?
Ron Broman,
I think we lost Ron.
okay. Carol Boyce,
Approve.
I vote to approve, and Dr. Richard Edwards.
Approve.
Okay, so we have the votes to move that along. Are we done with if there's any further discussion regarding 32 Mill Hill Road, now would be the time to do it. If not, we'll move the agenda.
We have, nope, I thought I had a hand up, but nope.
Okay. So
No,
let's,
you're not.
Oh, Carol Gordon's got her hand up again.
Here I am. Yes, wait a second.
okay, Carol. you
Okay,
have
I
the
just have
floor again.
one last question, please. I heard in there about a traffic study that had to be done. And I was just wondering, okay, this letter goes over to the traffic department. And what type of study do they have to do in order to approve?
It's
And how
not
long
really-
does that take?
It's not really a study. Bob, Dr. Duncanson, maybe you can describe the content
Maybe
of the letter.
I'm just confused.
Yeah, it's not a study. Whenever they get requests for no parking or traffic, new stop signs or whatever, they generally conduct their own investigation, if you will, meaning they get data from the police department. They go out and they view the site and whatnot, and then they use all that information as part of their deliberations. So it's not a traffic study, not a traffic study.
And how long
review.
does that usually take?
I can't, it varies depending on what the situation is. I can't give you a specific time frame. I did look up their next meeting is February 24th. At least that's what's currently on the calendar. So if we were to get this information to them in the next day or so, hopefully it makes it on their agenda for the 24th. And then we might have some idea from then.
That would be really good. Okay. All righty. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, let's move the agenda to item 4, which is an update and a discussion regarding Chatham water quality. Dr. Duncanson, any updates there?
The only update I have for you is last week we had a meeting with the engineers to review the 90% design plans for the new wells at sites 10 and 11, which is just off Mill Pond in the northwest corner of Chatham. So as I said, they're at the 90% design phase, so they're getting ready to button those up and get those out to bid in anticipation of bidding late spring, early summer, and then construction starting hopefully shortly thereafter, so that those wells would be online in time for summer 2023. So that's the current update on that issue.
Questions or comments by board members? All right. Anybody from the public want a question or comment on Dr. Duncanson's report? All right, let's go to item 5, which is an update and a discussion regarding COVID-19. How are things going, Bob?
All right, so let me share my screen here with you and show you some of the latest graphics. Okay, so the first one I have up is our monthly case count that I'm sure you're familiar with. The ones in blue, the light blue and the dark view, are 2022 numbers. And you can see January was our worst month to date, both in terms of new cases and also the number of cases that got resolved in that month, given that we had a high case count in December. So far this month, we have dropped off dramatically. There's been 733 cases, confirmed cases of COVID-19 since the beginning of the pandemic. So since roughly March of 2020. We've had 15 cases so far in February this year. So 15 cases as of the 13th, as of the end of day yesterday. And that compares to 42 cases in February of last year. So if you assume that we are at 15 cases now and we're roughly halfway through the month, our case count this year should be less than last year, unless something changes dramatically in the second half of the month. To put it in a little bit closer perspective, here is our weekly confirmed COVID-19 cases. And again, as we've seen before, this goes back to the beginning of December of 2021. So we saw that peak after Thanksgiving. We saw the after Christmas, New Year's peak. And then as you can see, we've had a steady decline in cases in the latter part of January and so far into February, which is, really good news. Case counts have dropped off fairly dramatically, as we're seeing both in Massachusetts and across the country. The Omicron surge is as quickly as it went up, it is dropping off just as quickly.
Bob, that last red bar on the right.
Yep.
Is that a complete week?
Yes, these are all complete weeks. That's why. So it's basically a Saturday through the Friday. So these are as of last Friday, for the week preceding. So yeah, that is a full week.
Well, that's impressive.
Yeah, like I say, it's been a fairly dramatic decline in cases. And similarly, to go along with that, here's our percent positivity. As you can see, that's also been in a fairly steep decline since the peak back in, early to mid-January. We are still above that 5% threshold. That is generally indicative of a illness train that is kind of out of the station, if you will. Hopefully, once we get below that, that means that the endemic or the pandemic, at least in Chatham, is under control. As of last Thursday, when these numbers come out, because again, these are only weekly numbers, we were at 9.12%, and that was the 6th lowest on the Cape, which is great news considering previous weeks before that, we were, very close to being the highest percent positivity on the Cape. At last week's number, Barnstable County was at 11.07, so we were actually below the county average, which was good news. One thing to keep in mind, though, the county, Barnstable County being a little over 11%, that was actually the 3rd highest county in the Commonwealth. So Barnstable County continues to lag a little bit behind other locations in Massachusetts, which has been, what we've seen for the last couple of months. The statewide 14-day positivity rate last week was 6.48%. So, we were still above that by a third, and the county was above it by twice. So, we're a little bit behind other locations in the state.
But the slope of that line is pretty steep.
Is very positive. Hopefully that slope continues with this Thursday's number. And if it does, I wouldn't be at all surprised that we will be below that 5% threshold. But as you know, we've been below there before. And then we've seen several surges that have taken us above that line. But hopefully, the worst of the Omicron variant is definitely over.
Richard, your hand is up.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the testing. Do we have any idea about what the number of tests per 10,000 population is on the Cape compared to other parts of the state? In other words, are we doing less testing than other places that may have more testing sites? Are we just testing people that are symptomatic? That are symptomatic? Can we explain this in any way?
I don't have any numbers right at my fingertips. I can certainly get those and send those around to the board. You know, it's always difficult to say, are we testing only symptomatic versus everyone? I think with the Omicron variant kind of decreasing in public awareness, if you will, because everybody's case counts are going down, there may be less testing of asymptomatic individuals, but we would have no way of knowing. You know, people get tested for a whole variety of reasons. But
it's hard to make much sense out of the data. You know, with the widespread availability now of home testing, a lot of people are testing at home, you know, rather than going to a site. And if they're testing at home and they're negative, that doesn't get reported. And
if they test at home and they're positive, it doesn't get reported either.
Correct.
You're not required. If you self-test at home, you're not required to report that to the state. So, you know, that has been an issue for months, that, you know, some of these numbers may actually be undercounting, you know, the actual number of positive cases and whatnot. But there's, you know, short of making it mandatory that if you test at home, you report it to someone, there's just no way to get a better handle on that. And that, you know, everybody in the public health community, from the state, the feds, down to the local level, I mean, is aware that, you know, that's an issue, but, you know, we have the numbers we have.
This could be the weakest indicator we use.
Yeah. So, you know, there is a lot of indication that people, you know, look at hospitalization, things like that as being better indicators. Difficulty with hospitalizations and death rates is, you know, they tend to lag behind by a couple of weeks. You know, similar to this data is looking at 2 weeks ago, or basically 3 weeks ago. You know, so it's difficult because there is no good, you know, pretty much instantaneous way to get a handle on what's going on in a particular community at any particular point in time. So the best you could do is look at the trend.
Do we know what the situation at Cape Cod Hospital is now in terms of true COVID admissions?
It's still about, for most hospitals, including the ones on the Cape, it's about 50%. So 50% true COVID cases versus 50% of cases being people that came to the hospital for some other reason and then were tested at the hospital and tested positive. And that's been pretty consistent over the last couple of months, is about a 50-50 split.
And what's the situation in the hospital now in terms of ICU capacity?
I don't have the specific ICU numbers, but I know their cases have been going down.
What I'm wondering is, with the rapid drop in that last curve, are we getting near the point where we can start to think about eliminating the mask mandate in public buildings?
You know, that's a tough, well, I shouldn't say it's a tough question. Obviously, the data is all going in the right direction. I would be more comfortable waiting until we get below that 5% threshold. And, you know, so that may be, you know, probably at least one more week. You know, I mean, we've been below these numbers before, and then we've seen spikes. So there's, you know, unfortunately, there's just no way to predict what the future is going to hold. You know, I think we're all optimistic that, you know, we're over the worst of this. We're coming into, you know, the kind of the outdoor season. We'll be starting here in another month or two. So hopefully we won't be, you know, in the wintertime. There are some other variants out there. They appear to be, there's at least one that appears to be even more contagious than Omicron. But at the same time, vaccination rates and all have been going up as well. So, you know, when you start to weigh everything together, it looks like, you know, we are definitely heading in the right direction. My recommendation to the board would be to hold off at least one more week. Your next meeting's not until March 7th, which would basically give us a couple more weeks of data to be sure that those downward trends continue, that we get below that 5% threshold, that our weekly case counts in Chatham continue to drop. You know, and as I said last time, I think some of some of the impetus for the mask requirement at public meetings in town offices has been just, you know, making sure the staff feels comfortable. So my recommendation would be to wait another couple of weeks for things to continue to hopefully present in the right direction.
I would agree with that. And I also need to remind everybody that we have a very high proportion vaccinated now, and we also have a lot of people who have had COVID and have some degree of acquired immunity. So this, even if we're, you know, if we get another strain that's contagious, the number of people going in the hospital really sick with COVID keeps going down. So it may be nearly a time when we can start to relax some of these restrictions.
John?
John, you're muted.
Noble.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think, so we already removed the order that you must wear a mask in a publicly accessible building, whether vaccinated or unvaccinated. What remains in place just is whether you have to wear a mask if you're in a town-owned building, which is, you know, another publicly accessible building. My own opinion is, you know, we're coming well down off this peak, and we've already rescinded the order that you have to wear a mask in a public building. The guideline remains in place. I think we should, unless there's specific strong pushback from town officials themselves that they don't want to do that, I think we should remove that order in the public buildings. I'd like to see the community center that people can go in there with a guideline, use their own discretion, and wear a mask or not wear a mask, you know, when they're exercising in the weight room, or they're playing pickleball or basketball. I mean, I think we should go back to the guideline of wearing a mask and remove the order to wear a mask. And I'm thinking particularly of the community center. The other public buildings, I mean, honestly, to my mind, they're just not that busy. How many people walk in the town hall on Main Street or into the annex during the week? There's just not that many people. And, you know, you can sort of keep spread out. But I feel that we should follow up with what we did last week and remove the order for on the public buildings.
John, if I could just provide a clarification, there is not a universal masking requirement in town buildings. The order, your order that still remains in place, is that face coverings must be worn when in a meeting in town buildings. So if there's an in-person meeting in town buildings, that's when face coverings are required. Or if there's a meeting of 2 or more individuals in a town building. And as Noble indicated, the gym and the fitness room at the community center. So if a member of the public simply walks into town offices, they do not need to wear a mask. If they come into town offices or the annex and they're going to a public meeting in one of the meeting rooms, say the Board of Health or the zoning board or somebody else, that's when meetings are required. Or if they're coming to meet with a staff, if somebody from the public comes in to meet with me in my office, they'd have to wear a mask. But if they just come into town buildings to conduct business at one of the various counters, they are not required, they're not mandated to wear a mask.
So if there's if they go into play mahjong and there's 4 or 5 people, are they, so by those guidelines, do they wear a mask or not wear a mask? It's more than 2, so I guess they're supposed to wear a mask?
They should be wearing a mask, yes.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, that's right. That's the clarification. It was more specific in that. But I still think we should remove the order that we put in place in September that about mandatory mask wearing in the public buildings. I think the time has come when removing the mandatory order is what we should do. I think you reach a point where those orders become counterproductive to the overall mission of getting compliance and having people, have agreement what we do.
Interesting questions from other board members. Dick, Carol, Ron, what do you think about what Noble is suggesting?
Well, that's pretty much what I was alluding to with my comment, whether to do it now or to wait a week until we're below 5% and do it. But I think.
But it won't be a week, it'll be 3 weeks, basally.
Yeah.
We'll be into March by then.
Well,
by the next meeting.
Have an order that the mandate will be removed on the date that the weekly percent positivity drops below 5%.
That line's coming down pretty steeply right now. I have a feeling that we're going to be
the percent positivity,
down below 5%.
The graph that Bob showed, that's a 2-week average. So that includes data from two weeks ago. This thing is moving, markedly week by week. I'm kind of reluctant to just, instead of us making a subjective decision based on what we think overall, using our judgment, falling back on a number. I kind of resist that in a way because I think, it's better for us to just say what we think overall, our judgment. These are policy things that are, to some extent, a subjective decision that you make. So I think waiting 3 weeks is too long. I think by that time, it'll be obvious we should have removed this order. That's what I think.
Well, if we consider what the state's direction is with the public schools, by the end of February, many public schools will no longer be requiring mask wearing inside the school by the kids. I don't know. What do other board members think?
It's Carol. I agree with Noble. I think we should remove it now. And if people want to wear a mask while they're in the community center, they can wear a mask. But I think we should get rid of the mandate.
Okay. Ron, you want to weigh in?
This is
Bob,
Mark at Channel
you're-
18. Ron Broman may need to do *6 on his phone to unmute.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I would be fine with doing this personally now if that's the consensus of the rest of the board, because we have to remember that everybody that goes in any town building can still choose to wear a mask if they'd like to. So we're not banning the wearing of masks. We're banning the requirement that everyone wear a mask. And I think there is a difference there.
And I think if they're uncomfortable playing pickleball without a mask on some people, they can choose not to. I would just say that it's an individual thing. Our men's club just our group, because we're old and it's a big group, we're going to wear masks through the March 4th meeting. But that's our group's choice, and I think that's the way it should be, not through an order or a mandate from us.
Dr. Duncanson, you're closest to the feeling of your coworkers in the town meeting space. Would you be comfortable for the Board of Health to lift this requirement tonight?
As I indicated earlier, I'd like to see the data from this week at least, to know that downward trajectory on the percent positivity is continuing. I have no reason to believe it's not, but I tend to deal with absolute data, and so I like to be able to see something so that when somebody asks, why did you do something, there's something concrete to point to. I think we've all seen a number of occasions where, decisions like this have been made, and then, a couple of weeks later, something happens and you have to reimpose things. So, obviously the board's next meeting is not scheduled till March 7th. Clearly, if the board would be more comfortable, we can certainly schedule another meeting in between. Next Monday is a holiday, so it's, we can't schedule one then, but we could certainly schedule one for another day next week, or we could schedule one for the 28th. If that helps in your thinking at all, but yeah, I mean, it in some respects it is a judgment call, but I know some other communities have relaxed their mask mandates. Others have not. Others have said, we want to wait and see a little bit more. Some schools released theirs this week, last week. Others are waiting, like Massachusetts, till the end of the month, till the 28th of February. I know there's some concern about that because it's right after school vacation week, and we've all known what's happened at other times around school vacation weeks. They've seen an uptick in cases, the week or 2 weeks later. So that's been voiced as a concern in a number of school districts around the Commonwealth that, does it make sense to wait till further after school vacation week to make sure that, they don't see that kind of uptick. So it's difficult. I mean, right now, everything seems to be trending in the right direction. And I think we're all hopeful that it continues in that way. But at the same token, the CDC and others are, they're concerned about, all these mask mandates being dropped, maybe in their, opinion, a little bit prematurely. Wearing a mask is a relatively easy thing to do. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, this is Noble. I think, to me, we've already removed the mask order for public buildings in general, businesses and shops and all that. And I'm just saying that extending it to the town buildings and the community center is just basically doing what we've already done. The other thing, I think that, this COVID, well, one thing, it's Omicron, which is a little different than a couple of years ago, but we're going to be in a situation, to me, where things are going to come and go. New variants may drop on us. Things may suddenly change. We're going to have to change things back and forth all the time. So I think we do what we should do, what we do based on right now, and don't feel bad if later we have to put something back in place again. And I think there's a growing, I think there's also the counterproductive thing. I think there's a growing sense that people want to be able to make their own choice about what's safe, not go out if they don't want to, wear a mask if they want to, stay away from people if they want to. And I think that if we get a little overburdensome with our orders, that it gets to be counterproductive. I keep using that word. That's why I'm kind of pushing for it in a way. And I think it's pretty obvious that this surge is really coming down. I mean, this is Omicron now. This is not, back a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I don't
All right.
disagree with anything you say, Noble. The only distinction I would make between the order that you rescinded on public places and whatnot versus the meeting rooms, generally you go into the grocery store or a gift store or wherever, and you might be there for 10, 15, 20 minutes. People may be coming into meetings at town offices and potentially be there for hours in a small confined space. Stores can keep their doors open and ventilate better and all. So anyway, that's just a distinction between the two. I'm not saying that for, better for worse.
Yeah.
But, that was part of the concern on the town staff was, they may be stuck in that meeting room for 2, 3, 4 hours.
Yeah, that brings up another question, actually, and I'm not quite sure of the answer. Isn't there a separate thing that the select board passed where they went to virtual meetings? Is that the current procedure right now? They're all virtual meetings, or is it up to the choice of each committee and board meeting?
The Board of Selectmen still has not, they discussed it. They did not take any particular action on it a couple of weeks ago. They wanted to see how things went. In terms of, so some boards and committees are remaining virtual.
So it's at the discretion of the board and the board chairman. It's not a mandatory thing. So there's discretion there. I think if the board feels like they draw big crowds and they're concerned about how long they're in, they can choose to have virtual meetings. I think most boards are having virtual meetings, I'm guessing.
The Board of Selectmen really didn't take a vote. They didn't direct boards to start meeting in person. They did not direct boards to go 100% virtual. They wanted to see how the things continued to go.
Well, could we just do it for the Board of Health?
Oh.
Hello?
That was Ron. Ron's on though.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was muted temporarily. What was that you said, Ron?
Could we just do it for the Board of Health to get it going that way? If the selectmen's letting it do it by certain groups.
I'm not clear what you're suggesting, Ron.
Can we, as the Board of Health, make just our meeting open without mask? If you don't want to wear one.
Well, that doesn't address.
I'd rather see it for every meeting in town, but.
That doesn't address the larger overarching policy decision we're trying to make.
Well, I agree. Make it for everything. Make it a general one then.
Well,
this is Noble. Usually we like to, I don't know if there's a consensus, but I mean, I can put forward, I don't want to make a contentious thing, but I can put forward a motion that we rescind that thing, and then I guess we can vote on it. And if it's voted down, then we can think about having an earlier meeting and review the data and see if we want to rescind it in a week or two, which to me is not a whole lot of difference, but.
Yeah. That's what I thought about the other one.
I just wrote down something on my piece of paper here, and I said, don't have compelling concerns. In other words, instead of looking for a reason not to, I don't have a compelling concern personally right now about Omicron in Chatham. I think that ship has sailed, and I think our data reinforce that. So, I'd be willing. Why don't we call the question, Noble? You put a motion out, and then we'll see if we get a second, and then we'll have some final discussion and a vote.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we rescind the order of, it's actually September 20th, 2021, concerning the public building mandatory mask wearing. The state guideline of wearing a mask indoors would remain in place. And we could, we recommend if you wear a mask, N95 is the best mask to wear. But the motion would be to rescind the order of September 20th, 21 concerning mandatory wearing of masks in the public buildings.
Okay.
Under those conditions that Bob had mentioned.
Dr. Duncanson, your hand is up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I just looked up the Board of Selectmen's meeting where they reviewed your recommendation to return to, kind of in-person meetings. And there was a motion that a communication be sent to all committee chairs urging them to meet virtually until the surge in cases subsides. And that was passed unanimously. So that's still the position of the Board of Selectmen, to continue meeting virtually. And they have not revisited that. That was the meeting on January 11th. They have not revisited that topic. It may come up tomorrow night, or next week. So that's the current position, is still their recommendation for virtual meetings.
Okay, I think that was kind of my recollection. So that's a separate issue, which that's separate from the motion I just made.
Do we have a second for Noble's motion?
I will second Noble's motion.
Okay. Now, before we vote, further discussion among
We have
board
one-
members first. And then if anybody from the public wishes to comment before the Board of Health votes, I would welcome.
We have
any.
EBG, I think it's Elaine, your hand is up.
And Noble, your hand is still up.
Oh my, that's an old hand.
Okay, so
No intent.
Elaine Gibb, Elaine
yes.
Elaine, you
Thank-
have the floor.
Yeah, it seems out that basically we're open except for staff and staff meetings. And I guess my two questions are, has there been an inordinate number of cases amongst staff, and have they been vaccinated at the same rate as the rest of the community? I think by saying that that is the only area that is not going to be open when people, for the most part, if you want to wear a mask, you can wear a mask indoors. I think it's sending a kind of a mixed message that nobody wants us in town offices to do business, and that we're okay on the outside, but we have to protect staff. It's just an observation in terms of optics. I think that if we're going to open, we should open, and we all have some individual responsibility to protect ourselves and just good manners. But I think it is a mixed message by saying, we're really not wanted in town offices to do business without masks. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Duncanson.
Well, I was just going to say that the public not being wanted in town offices is not at all the message that the town has been putting out for months. The public has been welcome to come in and do their business at town offices. And up until a couple of weeks ago, everybody had to wear a mask. As you know, that has been rescinded. We have been encouraging people to conduct their business either by email, by phone, by fax, or using the drop boxes, just because frankly, it was found to be very easy for the public and the staff to deal with that. So to say that, we have not been welcoming the public is not appropriate.
All right,
I think I'm just telling you that is what the perception is. So to say it, whether it's appropriate or not, I think is inappropriate. All I'm saying is there is one set of rules for town staff, and then there are a set of rules for everybody else, whether it's in grocery stores, in restaurants where people can be sitting for hours. We think that's okay. We've lifted everything except this. And I'm just saying that I think that there is an optic situation here where that is the perception of people, that we are really not wanted in town offices to do business, that they want it done remotely, and it's to protect staff. And that's why I asked, has there been an increase? Are people getting sick because of the public coming in? Or are they vaccinated at the same rate as the rest of the public?
Okay. Thank you, Elaine.
They should be
And Dr.
vaccinated.
Duncanson. What was that, Ron?
They should be vaccinated. You know, at this time and age, most people, almost everybody should be vaccinated.
I would think so. Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second to lift the September 20th, 2021 mask order.
John, there's one other hand up. Nicole?
Okay, I don't see it. Go ahead, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole Stern. I understand everyone's position. However, I think the time has come. It's been long enough, and it's time for the masks to come off. And for 1 week, I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen? Something changes and we have to reverse course. But I think it's time. The masks need to come off. People need to feel like they can get back to their normal lives and do normal things. So thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Any further comments from Board of Health members? Now, just for clarification, Judy, on this motion, does the alternate vote?
No, he doesn't need to vote because we have a quorum of regular members.
Okay, so unfortunately, Ed, not Ed, Dick, you will not get the vote on this because we don't need your vote on this. So let's call the question.
John, just
yes.
a point of clarification. Is it the board's intent that this, if the board votes in the affirmative, that this would take effect immediately, or are you setting a time frame on it?
I would say immediately.
Noble.
The part of the motion would be immediately or tomorrow, if you think it's better to do tomorrow, but.
No, I just want to know, so when we get the word out, yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, hearing no other questions or comments, let me call the question. When I call your name, please indicate how you vote on this motion. Dr. Hanson.
Approve the motion.
Ron Broman.
Approve.
Carol Boyce.
Approve.
And I vote to approve. So the motion passes 4-0. And okay, so we handled that one. Okay.
I got my hand here, a new hand.
Yes, Noble.
So I would just go back to Bob's statement about the select board had I think we had urged them to make all the board and committee meetings virtual. And I would ask Bob, is it helpful for us to remind the select board or make a recommendation to the select board that they maybe think about that? To me, it would be reasonable to say that virtual or in-person meetings can be at the discretion of the board or the chairman of the board on an individual basis based on what they think is best for them, and not be a kind of a mandatory thing. Or at least that the select board consider that, not that we're telling them what to do, but that they could consider that again, in our opinion. Would that help in Bob's opinion?
That can certainly be conveyed to the select board. Yes, if that's the consensus of the Board of Health, we will convey that message to the select board.
And then the beauty of that is that the conditions that are present at the upcoming meeting, whether they expect a crowd, whether the meeting's going to be multiple hours, or whether it's going to be 6 board members with 2 people in the audience, that can all be taken into account.
And the health of board members. I mean, some boards may have particularly old or frail people and that they want to protect more. That would be fine.
Okay, okay. So I'm fine with that.
You know, my understanding is that the select board isn't mandating that these be virtual meetings, that it was just their recommendation. And so it's, even now, it's up to the chairman of each board whether they have their meeting in person or not. But it would be helpful to affirm that our feeling is that it doesn't need to be mandatory. And let me just say that after listening to all the discussion, if I were to vote, I would have voted for that.
And then, Bob can clarify, did the select board send out a letter saying that they should meet, that they're recommending, or that telling people to meet, boards to meet virtually? What did they do exactly?
The motion that passed unanimously was that a communication be sent to all committee chairs urging them to meet virtually until the surge in cases subsides.
It was an urge, not an order.
Right. Yeah.
And the surge is subsiding.
Yeah.
As we speak.
Okay.
Bob, were you
So-
gonna announce the COVID testing giveaway, or?
Yeah, once I was sure the board was finished with this topic. Because there's still two hands up. Dick, your hand's up, and Noble, your hand's up.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm still waiting for my COVID test from the president.
So am I.
I got an email on January 18th saying it was in the mail. And
I got
it
mine.
hasn't arrived.
All right,
You
so
got your-
if there's nothing else, the final thing that I do have to announce, and the board should have gotten the press release that went out yesterday. We are going to be distributing free COVID-19 at-home antigen self-test kits this Wednesday, February 16th, between the hours of 2 and 4:30, or until they last, by a drive-through here at the annex. So folks will be able to drive up to the annex, and then pick up one test kit per household member, each test kit having 2 tests, because the recommendation is to test yourself and then test 24 to 36 hours afterwards. If you have symptoms or you've been, in close contact with someone that did test positive. Obviously, we're not encouraging people to just get these kits and take it for no reason, but if you have symptoms or if you've been in close contact with someone who tested positive, you would have those test kits available. So again, that's going to be this Wednesday at the annex. It's for Chatham residents only. So you will need to provide proof of residency in the form of a driver's license showing a Chatham address, or a real estate tax bill, or a long-term lease of greater than 6 months on a Chatham address. And then we will distribute 1 kit per household member until we're out of them. We have about 1,700, so hopefully they will last a while, recognizing that people are now getting them from the federal government as well as other sources for free. So we do have those available.
If there are 2 people living in a household, do both people have to be in the vehicle, or do you have to have 2 IDs?
No, we're going on the assumption that people that drive up are being honest. And, if they tell us that there's 2 people in the household, then, obviously if both of you are in the car, great. If they can't be because one person's at work, we're gonna go on the honesty system here.
Okay.
We have talked to some other towns that did just similar to distributions with the free ones they got from the state, and they took down names and addresses, and in the end they said it really wasn't worth it. It slowed everything down. It made it more difficult, and so we're just going to require that proof of residency.
Okay.
But we
That's
know
good.
how many you people have in your household, so don't try to do anything sneaky.
I was thinking about going through and then going back to the end of the line and going through another time.
Yeah, no, I think we'll recognize you, John.
Okay. All right. That's the end of the regular agenda. Judy, we did want to mention one thing about an email that all the board members got regarding the airport.
We did receive an email, and I forwarded it to you all regarding the fisherman's storage area. Gloria Freeman sent the email to you requesting that the board review the situation and.
Excuse me, Judith. It wasn't Gloria, it was Elaine Gibbs that did that.
Oh, I'm sorry, Elaine.
Yeah.
I got confused. Yeah, so it was Elaine, and she requested that it go on the agenda of a future Board of Health meeting for discussion.
And I think that would be proper. And between now and that board meeting, Judy, if you haven't already sent it out, you can send out detailed information on how each board member can do a walkover of that site if they have an interest in doing so before that scheduled meeting.
Sure, no problem. I can give you easy directions on how to drive over there and take a look. I did go take a look, and you know, it's an easy drive in, and it's a very large area, but you can see what's going on down there very quickly.
Okay. Yeah, I've done a walkover, so.
Yeah, and this is Noble, and maybe an update on what the town is doing about that cleanup already, because I think it's been discussed, and I think there was some plan of action that we don't maybe all know about, but we can get updated on that at the time of the agenda item.
Yes, definitely. I think Bob has been probably more involved in that and can give us an update, or I'll find out what's going on, and we'll present that to you at that time.
Is that airport owned property?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, it's town of Chatham owned property. The entire airport is owned by the town of Chatham.
Yep.
But it is under the jurisdiction of the Airport Commission. It's part of the airport layout according to FAA.
Okay, good. All right, well, stay tuned for this. This will be an upcoming issue for us to educate ourselves about and discuss. Our agenda says that we have minutes, but I didn't find any minutes in my packet.
No minutes. They did not get put into your packet, so they will be in the next packet.
Okay. Okay. Any issue any board member would like to? Okay, Richard, you're on.
Oh, no, sorry, fat finger.
Noble, just a quick thing on that agenda item for the airport. If it's under the airport commission's responsibility, a question that would come up during the discussion in my mind would be, would their funds be available to pay for the cleanup? Because they do have extra funds, I believe, but that's not for now. That would be for then.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Any other issues any board member wants to raise before we adjourn? If not, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Ron Broman.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, when I call your name, please indicate how you vote on the motion to adjourn. Dr. Noble Hanson?
Approve.
Ron Broman?
Approve.
Carol Boyce?
Approve.
And I vote to approve. So our meeting is done for now. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.